guest is here to talk about the very important but often overlooked Medicare benefits that people may be missing out on. Welcome back, Senior Vice President of Physicians Mutual, our very good friend, Bob Gunia. Welcome back, Bob.
Great to be back. Season 8, it's exciting.
I know it's so exciting, and you've been here through most of them, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, Bob, we are going to talk about Medicare, and we're going to talk about the benefits that a lot of people don't even know that exist and that they have. And, you know, a lot of people are waiting for the day that Medicare does offer their health coverage. But before we get to all those benefits they may be missing out on, can you just give us a quick refresher, the different steps of Medicare? Because it can be kind of confusing.
Yeah, whenever you're talking about Medicare, a refresher is a good thing to do because it is confusing, and there's actual studies of folks that are enrolled in the program, and they are just as confused as when they first enrolled about what it covers. And so, as a refresher, we'll break down the A, B, C, and D of Medicare. And Part A for Medicare is for hospital coverage.
Okay.
And so it's the hospital expenses when you're admitted. It's the portion of Medicare that is funded through the payroll tax that you all see on your pay stub, the Medicare tax.
Okay.
That's what pays for Part A. Part B deals with physician services, outpatient services. And that's a combination of funding from the general tax revenue, about 75%, and then roughly about 25% is through a monthly premium that people pay when they enroll in Part B.
Okay.
Part C is referred to as Medicare Advantage, and it is completely different, separate from original Medicare. It's basically a privatized version of Medicare that people can enroll in. So it's a program with its own set of policy configurations. And Part D is a program that provides a subsidy for drug coverage, insurance coverage. And so it helps people with their drug expenses. So those are the main components of Medicare, the A, B, C, and D.
Okay, and you should always review them because, again, just like you said, the people who are actually enrolled in Medicare are confused.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And within these various parts, there's definitely parts of the coverage that seniors are overlooking.
Yeah, and so there's a couple good examples of things that are commonly overlooked that don't cost anything for them either as well. When you enroll in Medicare, you have your Welcome to Medicare visit that you should schedule with your doctor's office. And it's a great way to get kind of an assessment of where you're at health-wise and what are some conditions that maybe need to be managed and come up with a program, or maybe there's some special inoculations or something that you need that the doctor can look at that opportunity. In addition to that, every year, between 12 months, you can get a yearly visit as well, where you're sitting down with the provider to, again, the reason why these visits are there is to get a handle of your health conditions, especially if you have chronic conditions, and say, how can we get a better lifestyle in order to draw down the cost of health care. There's also benefits for cessation programs for smoking. Obviously, smoking dries up health care costs.
Yep.
And so they want to do whatever they can and say, hey, we're going to offer these free opportunities to help quit smoking. And there's also an element that when you visit with your yearly wellness visit is for advanced care planning.
Right.
And this is something that's important that oftentimes is overlooked, where a professional can sit down with you and give you the necessary paperwork to help you come up with the individual who can speak on your behalf if a situation occurs and you're unable to speak for yourself.
That's very important. I know that firsthand when my father got ill. These are all very important things.
And it's nice to know who is, because there may be someone in your family that you don't want to speak on your behalf. And so by setting that stuff up on the early one is really helpful.
That's right. You also have even diabetes preventative care in there as well.
Yeah, so type 2 diabetes, it's a chronic condition that really it brings on a lot of health issues. And so the best of our ability to keep control of your diabetes and perhaps prevent the onset of it, there's programs where you can meet with counseling groups and try to create a lifestyle that really keeps your diabetes at bay. And there's also programs that if you do have type 2 diabetes where they can help you with your case management of that, how to control it. Now with that, there would be some cost sharing and potential expenses for those that are enrolled in Part B, that Medicare would pay a portion of that. So there are always those gaps in Medicare too that we need to be mindful of.
Okay, so what you're saying is preventative care is great for overall health, but supplemental coverage fills in the gaps.
Correct, because when we think of Medicare overall, you're thinking of the accidents and the sickness that when you access the program. The preventive is trying to prevent a healthier lifestyle. So when we go back to the more traditional, the accident and sickness portion of Medicare only covers about 80% of those expenses.
Right.
And so having a supplemental policy is very important, especially for seniors who are on a fixed income. And so, when we retire, we don't typically get wealthier or healthier. And a lot of folks just can't afford a big deductible or a big cost share amount when they actually get sick or have an accident. So it's very important to have Medicare supplement. Physicians Mutual has been supplementing since the 1960s, since the advent of the program. So it's something that we feel is very important, and consumers do as well to help fill those gaps.
That's right.
Absolutely. Is there ever a situation where someone should consider switching Medicare supplemental providers?
Great question. First off, the best advice always is, do it once, do it right on
Yeah.
the front end, because once you're enrolled in the program, there could be some underwriting requirements to switch carriers. However, I will say that Physicians Mutual, given the time of the year, we see business coming from other carriers anywhere from 15 to 30% of our new business throughout the course of the year. So it could be appropriate for many people if you're dissatisfied, if you're concerned about the rate of increases in your premiums, to look to another carrier and see if that's possible to switch, because for many people, it is a viable option.
Okay, do it once, do it right.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yes.
Easier said than done. You're going to tell.
Very important. Well, let's keep it simple. So just three steps.
Okay.
The first step, and I think this is the best advice for anyone exploring to enroll in Medicare, is to familiarize yourself with the program. You do not have to be an expert, but when you're sitting across from someone who's trying to sell you something, and you already have a kind of a general idea of what the program is about, I mean, you can go to cms.gov, you can go to our website, physiciansmutual.com, and just familiarize yourself, and it empowers you in that situation. So with a little bit of familiarity, if someone is just really pushing something on you or it's confusing.
Yeah.
So that's step one. Step two is plan enough time to make that decision. When we're not familiar with something, many times we procrastinate. We push it off. Well, I'm not going to I have plenty of time. I'm not going to deal with that. But if you've got that little familiarity in the front end, then start the process. We see people and set appointments and all that 7 months prior to them turning 65. So there's no reason to wait, the month before you turn 65 to get the coverage you need, and the help in enrolling, as well as finding the right supplemental carrier.
Okay.
And the third, and the most important, is finding the right company. I mean, customer service is important. You want someone who's trusted, someone that you could do it once and do it right.
Someone who has a good reputation.
Absolutely.
Someone who's knowledgeable and friendly.
Oh, but you know what?
Someone named Bob Gunia.
But I'm just one person in this whole thing that we call Physicians Mutual, and I have something very special to share, and it's very passion that comes from the employees of Physicians Mutual. We had an all-employee meeting just last week, and so they had a very special message for Home and Family.
Oh, what? That's all of us. That you run a tight ship. You have great employees.
And they used
Bob.
love.
They
and
used
tension.
love. Did they have to take two, or that was for real?
That was for real. They just all got up out of their seats and boom.
The love is real.
Yeah.
The love is real. Before you go, we have to ask, is there any final words that you have for any maybe changes that might be coming up that we should know about?
I'm glad you brought that up, Allie. So January 1st, 2020, there's going to be some changes as it relates to the Medicare supplement plans that are available for people who are enrolling for the first time in Medicare. There is a plan called Plan F, and many people have Plan F. So if those out that have Medicare supplement, you say, yeah, I got a Plan F. By the way, if you do, you don't have to change it. You can keep it. These changes don't involve anyone that has a Plan F. You love it, you can keep it. For those entering into the program for the first time post January 1, Plan G will be the closest equivalent to Plan F. And so that's a change. And the reason why I mention this is sometimes people can take advantage of people and maybe make phone calls and say, hey, you have to change. You're no longer going to get your Plan F. And they pry on people because they don't have that familiarity.
Right.
And so the message is if you're enrolled in Medicare and you like, in particular Medicare supplement, and you like your plan, you can keep it. You don't have to change it.
That's such great news, because when they make those phone calls, I'm always like, Mom, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone, Mom. So familiarize yourself with G. Familiarize
Unless
yourself.
I call her, she will answer.
Unless it's Bob Goodman, she'll take your call, Bob. Familiarize yourself with Bob and Physicians Mutual. You will not be sorry. And for more information, go to physiciansmutual.com. We love you, Bob.